welcome to Golden Acres. I'm gonna do a little bit of a homestead tour this morning. So we just bought the place. We moved in fighting rain like absolute crazy. So we bought this place from a couple who owned it for about 5 years. It's a little overgrown because they basically lived in the house and mowed, and they had some horses. So barns need cleaned out, lots of stuff, but there's lots of history here. Start with this. This shed, garage kind of right now, was actually built by the Mennonites. Their whole family, which I think was like 5 or 7 kids plus parents, all lived in this little shack while they built the big house. And so it was originally just the main rectangle. You know, there's been an add-on here to add on like a bathroom and indoor access to the basement. I will do an inside homestead tour of my kitchen and all the beautifulness that's inside of like the wood later. It's like crazy and just covered in boxes. You can't see anything. So, and you can see we have stuff on the porch we're trying to get moved in, organized. It's been crazy. So they added that on. They built that while they lived here, which is pretty cool. And then over here we have just another barn. Like, there's gonna be several buildings and barns on this property. So this long building is pretty cool. I don't have the keys on me right now, so I can't get inside. But it was a wood shop at one point. There's a trough down the middle, which if you've been on my Instagram, you will have seen. And it needs a lot of work too. We are going to use it as my husband's shop. All the tools will be in there. So that'll be really, really nice to have a workspace inside. And it needs its windows replaced. It needs new siding. Now this barn is really cool. And sadly, I don't know how long we're going to be able to keep it. Let me back up and see if I can get the whole thing in shot. This is a corn crib. I'm going to go get dust on my head now. Showing you guys how it works. So they would put loose corn up in the top loft. And then you would use these beams. And you can see all the dust that's flying out. You would let some corn out. So, unfortunately, we don't actually have use for this barn. And it's almost the perfect space for a greenhouse. So we're not so sure we're going to keep it. But we will take it down piece by piece slowly if we do. And reuse it. I'm definitely going to honor where it came from. That's what the Mennonites do when they take a building down. There's some other cool stuff. Used to be a woodworking shed here. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a really, really cool building, and I'm gonna have to like get a lot of good shots of that. Over here is just your basic barn. Like, it's a barn. You can go inside, get out of the bright sunlight, and this is where they kept the horses. So yeah, there's lots of bedding. Come back here, you will see that there's just lots to clean up. So, lots of poo that needs cleaned out. And I will probably, because we just moved, we don't have a garden set up, clean up a lot. There's buckets everywhere. I'm going to have to take those with a little bit of Dawn dish soap, clean them up, get a container garden. There's like a would-be like mad over there. So I'll get a container garden set up. This is May. May is short for Mater, because the boys named the girl cat Mater. So she's kind of mad at me because I didn't bring her home with food, but they dumped their food over last night. So they got into the big box. And then we also have lots of concrete pads, and they're broken up by weeds. Concrete pads, fully weeded. Back there, that is a real life outhouse that we are going to have to fill in because the building around it is just falling in and rotting away. So that's going to have to come down here soon. And then we'll go over here. We won't necessarily walk all the way back because there is a barn back there, and it's nothing special. Like, it's a typical old barn, but it could be useful for storage of different things. And then same over here. You've got this basic barn, which means check your batteries and your memory card before you start a video. So we're going over here, and this will be our cattle barn. Like I was saying, we plan on getting cows this year. Well, in the spring, this next year, within the year. And it needs a major cleanup too. So it's full of weeds. The inside needs totally scooped out. I have a baby in my back, so I'm not going to climb over necessarily right now. And then we have the pasture straight down in front of us. Our land is kind of L-shaped, so we don't have some of what you'll see today. It'll be our neighbors' hayfields. They are great. They run a small engine repair shop, and we have already run down there to go get parts to fix our lawnmower. So they have been very awesome and very helpful. We were told that they were very helpful when we moved in. So the plan is to have a lot done at some point, because we need to get these concrete areas cleaned up. We need to get just like some basic house stuff. And I will show you what I mean by that when we get over here, because there's just some things that weren't done right. Like, you know, like things need replaced, and that's different, right? But over here, and not on this front porch, but on the back deck, there is some silliness. And then there's some things done incorrectly. And over here is also fruit trees that I will show you after I show you this back deck. And it is a long walk to get over there. Alright. This fence, we're going to put a fence at or a gate at the front. Here's the back deck. There is no door back here to get inside. No door on the back deck. Nowhere near the deck. Door near the back deck. So that's gonna silly. Just add that. And then this right here is not done right. It's not quite a thick enough beam across to hold up the porch roof, the deck roof. So we're gonna have to jack up the porch, put a block underneath the post, and then add some reinforcement to this beam to get it done correctly. And Andrew came in, weed-eated the landscaping, so I'm not gonna be able to pull weeds for a little while, but that's okay. And they have a fire pit over here, so I keep my face in the frame. And there's the train. We live near the train tracks. It's probably part of the reason we could afford it. because you do hear the train fairly often. So we're just gonna work through it because it's gonna be a reality for this property that you hear the train. Hibiscus, pear. This little place is really cool. It has wasp in it. I'm allergic to wasps, so I'm not gonna go inside. Over here, there is a cherry tree. There's mulberry trees in here with a pine. We're going to have to investigate all these plants because I'm not the greatest at plant identification. I believe there's some comfrey in here. There are more mulberries down at the end. And I don't know exactly where the others are. There is supposed to be asparagus somewhere, and we have not found it. They might have mowed it down, which means we won't get a good asparagus harvest next year, if it exists. Haven't found it, so that's kind of sad. I hope we do find it. And this back here, this is where the Mennonites and the people who owned it before the people we bought it from had their garden. So pear tree, another fruit tree, but I'm not sure what it is. And of course, this is that same hedgerow that has mulberries in it. So we will be doing our garden out here. The play set is set up so if we're in the garden I can see kids, and if I'm in the house at the kitchen window, which is those two windows that are right next to each other, I can see kids from there too. Alright. That's a cool playhouse. We just didn't bring all the bolts. They're still at my in-laws' house. But it's a cool playhouse. And it needs cleaned because we just got a half put up this weekend. We have one pond. Over there is another pond, kind of hard to see. And then there, and where I showed you will be the cattle lot, there's a tiny, tiny cow soak pond. Like tiny, tiny. So I'm not gonna walk all the way down there right now because there's a sleeping baby on me. I think a sleeping baby. She might not be asleep, but she's being very good. All right, let's take a look. If you look out here, the pears, they're getting close. They still need, I don't know. My dad loves pears. And I asked him what I was doing and when they'd be ready. And he said, soon. So back there you can see the pond. That one's the prettier pond, I think. But the land is gorgeous. People are gonna ask, and I'll go ahead and give that answer. Do the trains bother you? And not really. Even growing up, like several miles from a train track growing up, it was so flat with all the cornfields in southern Illinois that I could hear the trains. When we lived in an apartment when we were first married, we lived right next to an interstate. Not a very busy interstate, but you heard way more semi horns than we currently hear train horns. So not too bad. The only thing that sucks is you can get caught by the train twice. To go into town, you have to cross the tracks twice. So I think that's probably the worst part, is the driving and getting caught by the trains. But I don't necessarily have to leave a whole awful lot. Andrew would like to turn that into a flagpole, get a flag put up. But there's a lot of projects, so we'll see how long that one gets put on the back burner. And then one more cool thing before we sign off. My next video probably won't be of the house. It'll probably be my container garden that I will do for the fall think it's just something for the fall. This is our well. It needs rebuilt. They tied their horses to it, kind of beat it up. It is a functional well, but it is not an electric well. So this was the well that the Mennonites put in. And it works. But I don't have it to the house or to the spigots outside. So there's no electricity hooked up to it. So we are considering making that a very functional piece and getting it hooked up to electric, but we have to prioritize our projects and we haven't decided how we're doing that yet. And then there's our nice long driveway. Can't see the road, which is awesome. There's fences everywhere, which is awesome. So lots that we are excited for, lots our kids are excited for. The transition for the kids actually was really good. So we will keep you updated on projects. Like I said, probably next will be a container garden. I'd like to at least do a kitchen video and show the kitchen. There is a wood stove inside that I will do videos on in the winter when it's cold outside and I can have a nice warm stove in the house. Also, when we do that, I will be explaining insurance for it, because insurance is harder to get for the wood stove, partially the way it's set up, where it's set up, but also because they're not that common. So that wood cook stove will have a whole video dedicated to it, explaining what we did to get insurance, if there was any changes that needed to be done, how much it possibly cost us extras, just so if you're looking at a property, you would know. And my arm is getting tired. So I'm going to bid you all a goodbye, and God bless.